Yesterday was a busy day. We got some new coaches. Alabama got some new transfers in, but you got the same old Luke and Jimmy.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Thanks for making us your first listen. And FanDuel is your partner or your sponsor for today's podcast. And sorry we didn't have a podcast yesterday. So much going on. Jimmy was super busy. I was super busy. Sorry about that. We'll try and make up for it today. Jimmy, first of all, just letting you know, I went to the Saban Legacy Awards thing last night where they honored Bobby Bowden posthumously, obviously, and also honored Frank Beamer. And I'll talk about those two things in the last segment, I think, because there's been so much news. We got to talk about the new coaches. We got to talk about the two new transfers. Big deals for Alabama. One of the transfers, I think, very highly sought after. Another one coming in from Washington. And the two coaches, I mean, look at sort of out of left field in a way. I'll let you tell me, but I didn't necessarily have those on the tip of my tongue, those two new names.
No, and why would we? I mean, one of the things we talked about here is, fans always want the fans, and speaking for me and Luke too, I mean, we want to hire the guys we're interested in are the names we know. And we know as fans a very limited number of names, whereas these coaches that are in coaching and have spent their lives in coaching have an extraordinary number of coaches that are on their contacts list and guys they're interested in, and they all know each other and they go to these networking events and all this other stuff. So I'm never surprised when it's someone off our radar. I sort of expect it really, but fans, we just know the names we know, and that's who we think they should be interested in because those are the names we know. But I like, or I should say, I'm interested in all these hires. Look, you can call it spin positively or negatively, but let's be honest, we're going to evaluate these guys on what they do at Alabama going forward. What they've done in the past doesn't matter. I'll use this quick example. Doug Marrone, when Alabama hired him, at one point in his career, Doug Marrone was hands down considered the best offensive line coach in the NFL. At one point, he had that title. And he comes to Alabama, and I'm sure most of the people listening to this show don't have a positive opinion of him. And he was the best in pro football. Here's another name. My good buddy and work buddy Travis Ryer reminded me of this at BOL. You know who was a very unpopular hire the day it happened, and everybody on the message boards was like, what are we doing? We don't even know this guy. He's been fired before. Here's a real unpopular name for you, Joe Pendry. The day Alabama hired Joe Pendry, it was not a popular hire. Now we consider him godlike, in terms of, oh, you're muting. You're so excited you're muting. You had such a good point too. You're so excited.
You saw how vehemently I pointed my finger. I'll tell you who thinks he's godlike is Nick Saban.
Nick Saban.
I'm telling you, Nick Saban and Joe Pendry are super tight. I know this beyond the shadow of a doubt.
It's true.
And and Nick Saban respects his opinion about as much as any human when it comes to football.
No, it was
I know this. Y'all trust me on that.
It was like a dad-like, father-like in terms of how he appreciated Joe Pendry's opinion about things and football things. And that's the whole point. I mean, we hired Doug Marrone. Hey, we hired the guy with the best offensive line coach in the NFL. And everybody's excited, and he sort of, by all accounts, stunk it up at Alabama. Joe Pendry, he's hired, and everybody's like, we've never heard of this guy, and he's been fired in the NFL, and why him? He seems kind of older guy, and now look back. So that's my point about these new hires from yesterday. Whatever opinion you have about Kopelevic, Brian Ellis, or Christian Robinson, it doesn't matter what your opinion is of them today. What will matter is your opinion of them this December.
Well, what is your opinion of them right now? Look, I know I'm throwing you in the briar patch.
No, fine.
But just what is your opinion of those three guys right now?
Yeah, I have first of all, Kopelevic, he's the offensive line coach, hired him really from Michigan State. I know he had been hired at Baylor, but he had yet to coach at Baylor. He just got hired at Baylor, so he wasn't part of the 2023 Baylor football team. He was coaching Michigan State under Mel Tucker for years. He was with Mel Tucker at Colorado before they ever got to Michigan State. Before that, he was with Larry Fedora at Southern Miss and North Carolina. What I like about Kapelevich is this. He's right out of central casting. He's right out of, like, what we want in an offensive line coach is a stereotype. And the stereotype is crusty, veteran, older, old school. Everyone describes him as tough. I mean, it's like, I've used this analogy earlier today. It's like the Marine drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket. If y'all have seen that movie, I'm sure y'all have. It's an older movie. That's what we expect our Marine drill. That's exactly what we expect our Marine drill sergeants to be, right? That guy. That guy's the literal stereotype or help give birth to the stereotype of what we want our Marine drill sergeant to be. That guy. And I think that's what we are like with our offensive line coaches. It's kind of a cookie cutter stereotype. And he is that guy. He's right out of central casting in terms of what you expect an offensive line coach to be. So that's what I like about him. Now, Brian Ellis, the tight end coach from Georgia Southern, who weirdly was not coaching tight ends there. He was the OC there. He's weirdly never coached tight ends in his career. And you might say, what are we doing? Well, this is what we're doing. We're hiring another Nick Sheridan. His resume looks spookily like Nick Sheridan's, Alabama's current offensive coordinator, who was coaching tight ends for DeBoer at Washington. They have an extremely similar background, an extremely similar resume in terms of, you can tell Kalen DeBoer is looking for another Nick Sheridan, because if Sheridan does really well as OC at Alabama, how long are we going to be able to keep him? And then you need another guy. And Brian Ellis is like another Nick Sheridan. He spent a lot of time coaching quarterbacks like Nick Sheridan. He's coached running backs. He's been an offensive coordinator most of his offensive career. So he's just another offensive coordinator type in the room. And that's what you like about him. Christian Robinson, who they hired from Baylor. This is a young SEC Southern coach, young. He's worked for Jeremy Pruitt. He was Jeremy Pruitt's GA at Georgia. Then he was Dan Mullen's linebacker coach at Florida. He worked for a year at Auburn. And now he just went to Baylor to work under Dave Aranda, who is struggling at Baylor, yes, but Aranda is known by everyone as a great defensive mind. And I think the year working under Aranda has probably been very helpful to him. But this is a from the South, son of a football coach, captain at Georgia, really young, played on that 2012 Georgia team that we remember that we beat to go on to play the national championship game against Notre Dame. He's going to be a recruiter, and he's young and learning, and one of these guys that's going to easily relate to today's young player. So those are the things I like. Now, in terms of negatives, none of these guys have a resume that's going to get the Dallas Cowboys calling them. These aren't rock stars of the assistant coach world. They're really, all three of them, up and comers. But that's what you want. You want guys rising in the profession, not guys that tapped out and now they're on the descent on their way to retiring. You want up and comers, risers. And so I'm excited to see what they can do. But whatever that they do, we're all going to have an opinion about them in December. And what they've done to date won't matter. All that will matter to us as Alabama fans is what happens this fall.
Absolutely. Now, Jimmy, when we come back, we're going to talk about the two new players Alabama has added to the roster. But I'm going to talk about FanDuel, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. How much fun is that? Get buckets. That's what the kids say. With your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get 150 smacks in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is monster money, y'all. That's $150 if your bet wins. That's so awesome. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets or live same-game parlays or exclusive props. all these exclusive props are so much fun, by the way. Go check them out. And much, 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 much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. So Alabama gets 2 new players to the roster. One was kind of expected, one bit of a surprise, if you ask me. We'll start with Keon Sabb, who comes from Michigan, won the national championship last year. Boy, he's coming in a pretty good position. I mean, playing safety. Alabama loses Caleb Downs. And Sabb seems to be a great fit. Your buddy Tim Watts over at On3 had some pretty glowing things to say about Keon Sabb. Said that, look, he's perfect for this new system. In fact, he says he's been told multiple times he's a perfect fit for Womack's swarm defense. So this guy had a ton of interest in the portal. Miami, Auburn, Oklahoma, Oregon, Penn State, a lot of people out there reaching out, trying to get Keon Sabb. Alabama's able to reel him in. Look, I think I speak for everybody where if in a perfect world, Caleb Downs would have remained at Alabama. I'm not even 100% sure they play the exact same position, but it's close enough. So I think in a perfect world, we would all say, yes, we would love for Caleb Downs to be at Alabama. If it's not Caleb Downs, give me the guy who has been really good for the team that was known for defense and that won the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of good. Obviously, this is good for Alabama. I mean, it's good because Alabama lacked experience, and that's the number one thing this kid brings. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he's entering year 3 of his college career. So he's older and he's experienced, and by experience, he's played snaps on the biggest stage. He played against Washington to win the national championship, played against Alabama, in the Rose Bowls, played against Ohio State now a couple of times. So adding that experience is huge because Alabama is crazy young at DB, and signing guys out of the portal to play defensive back is just a priority for Alabama. And with Keon, you're not only getting that, you're getting a talented kid. He was a national top 100 type prospect, played some at IMG. How about this for a factoid? Teammates with Jahad Campbell, at IMG, knows Campbell well. I think, BOL, we had this covered really well that Sabb was very likely to sign with Alabama. And that's what's happened. He is already enrolled. It's our understanding he'll be eligible and to go through spring practice, and that he's in the 4th quarter program right now with all the other guys. I would project him today, Luke. I mean, my projection would be today in terms of guessing he'll start at safety, probably alongside Devontae Smith as of now. With Malachi Moore at the Husky position, which is the new star position. That's what I would guess. Now to throw a wet blanket on everybody, you cannot, and it's the nature of the transfer portal is what this is. You cannot discuss Keon Sabb at Alabama without bringing up Caleb Downs' name. Everyone does this. Everyone's like, Caleb Downs out, Keon Sabb in. There's an enormous difference between these two. Caleb Downs is going to be this fall a first-team All-American. He will be a candidate, perhaps, to be the best safety in college football. He will be a 2025 first-round pick, and Caleb Downs is as good as it gets. Keon Sabb has started 5 games in 2 years. He started 5 games. He was not a full-time starter at Michigan. Per Michigan projections, he was not even going to be Michigan's best safety this fall. As a matter of fact, he was very possibly going to be Michigan's 3rd safety this fall. He was not a top 2 safety every year, though he did start games. And when he played, he made plays. There's a lot of promise here. But I think comparisons from Downs to Sabb aren't fair to Sabb just based on he hasn't accomplished the things that Caleb Downs accomplished in his quick freshman season at Alabama. Now, Keon's good. Again, I think he is going to start at Alabama and be a good player. This is a national top 100 player that played at IMG. He just had a crowded depth chart situation at Michigan, which did not allow him to get on the field as easily as he might have in other places. Keon's also got 2 younger brothers that are big-time prospects, very likely will be heavily recruited by Alabama, but they're also very young. They're not even 25 guys. One brother is 26. The other brother is 27 in terms of how young the younger brothers are. They're both wide receivers, by the way.
You mean class of 26?
Class of 26. Yeah, not 26 years old.
Yeah.
Class of 26. And
I have to clarify because I saw Chris
Yeah.
Winkie last night at an event, and I had to explain to my wife that, yeah, he was the oldest Heisman Trophy winner. He won it at age 52. But regardless, yeah, so I know
He
it
probably is 52 by now.
he should be about my age. Yeah, he's about my age.
Yeah, that's nuts. Boy, time flies. But anyway, Sab, this is a big pickup. I mean, the thing I mean about Downs is this. I think Keon Sab is a thunderstorm. Caleb Downs is an earthquake. I mean, on the weather the weather scale, he's an earthquake. Keon Sab's a thunderstorm.
Can you not just do like rank it 1 through 10? You have to come up with your own ranking system?
Yeah, Caleb Downs is like Coca-Cola, and Keon Sab is like Barks root beer.
They're both good.
They're both good.
One's more popular than the other.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I preferred that Barks.
They're both drinks.
When I was a kid, I remember playing tennis for hours in July because I grew up playing tennis for hours in July, and then would go up to the pro shop and drink root beer. How am I alive? What? I had not heard of water.
God, you should have just evaporated into it. You had to be so ashy. Anyway, all right. So Jimmy, now let's talk about the tight end transfer. Who's Josh Cuevas?
Cuevos? Joshua Cuevos.
Okay.
Cuevos, we believe.
Okay. Wow. Here's what's funny to me. The symmetry between all of these playoff teams. Yeah. Like the Isaiah Bond in the playoffs transfers to another playoff team. Alabama's got like 3 or 4 transfers from Washington in the playoffs. Alabama's got 1 transfer from Michigan in the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of playoff to playoff crime here.
It's incestual.
It's incestual.
Joshua Cuevos. Now, this was a big surprise because we just weren't talking about this guy. This was out of the blue, even for us at BOL, out of the blue. I mean, like, the kid committed with not even getting an edit from Hayes Fawcett and the on-3 guys.
Oh, my God.
The 24/7 guys. He basically committed with a selfie photo that he took of himself. And just
Hayes Fawcett
committed on it. I mean, this was low frills, yet guess what? Not scholarship player. I mean, this is a scholarship player at Alabama. And what an interesting story. Tight end didn't seem to be of need to us, but DeBoer and his staff felt it was a need because one of the things we just didn't have is a proven pass receiving tight end. With Amari Knobloch moving on to Texas, this kid has Knobloch's moved on to Texas. That's right, Alabama to Texas. There's another playoff thing.
Yeah.
Knobloch moving on to Texas has left Alabama without a pass catching tight end. This guy, pretty interestingly, out of high school from North Hollywood, and by that I mean the real Hollywood. He's from there. Signs with Cal Poly, which is an FCS school, red shirts, and then in his redshirt freshman year, caught almost 700 yards worth of balls. That's an enormous amount of production for a freshman tight end. Ends up making 3rd team all Big Sky. So he's 3rd team all conference in FCS football, and then is recruited by and transfers to Washington on scholarship. And last year played at Washington on scholarship, where he became their tight end number 3. But their top 2 tight ends were seniors. So he wasn't beating those guys out. He was the 3rd tight end. He only caught 4 balls, but catch this. He caught 4 balls and averaged 40 yards of reception. All of the balls he caught were big plays against big-time teams. And again, he played the 3rd most snaps of the tight end. So this is a scholarship player. Excellent receiver. Yes, a note star out of North Hollywood in high school, but quickly developed at the FCS level. So this is an interesting kid. How impactful is he going to be? I wouldn't buy a lot of stock in that, but also don't rule it out because he might fit a role in terms of what Alabama's looking for.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm not buying a lot of stock right now, but I don't hate this. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, ooh, we found the diamond in the rough. I'm not going to do that. I'm still team Caleb Odom. So, I mean, say what you want to, but I feel like, okay, I don't hate this. And there's a guy who knows the system. He knows the coaching staff. He may bring some familiarity to this whole thing and ease the transition.
And he can help teach it. Keep in mind, he's the only tight end in the tight end room that's played in the DeBoer system, and the tight end coach from Georgia Southern is also not coming from the DeBoer system. This guy's going to be a little bit of a player coach in year one.
Well, when we come back, Jimmy, I went to the Saban Legacy Awards dinner last night, and some interesting things were said, and I want to tell you about them. But, of course, I'm going to tell you about LinkedIn, too. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality candidates and professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board like some old regular job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. I mean, nowhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's cray-cray. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier than what I was talking about, how easy it was. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions are going to apply. So I mentioned I went to the Saban Legacy Awards at Red Mountain Theater last night. A very awesome venue. First time there. Went with the buddy who's with the Monday Morning Quarterback Club. Didn't know what to expect. Wasn't even sure Saban was going to be there, but he was in full force. The event was televised, I think, on Fox 6. And so they were honoring Bobby Bowden, of course, Birmingham ties. They were honoring Frank Beamer. And this is Saban spoke a lot, and boy, he was the sharpest, man. He's still just like, there's just a glow about him. It's just an aura around Nick Saban that we've all known about. But even after post coaching, they did that Tom Rinaldi video at the very beginning, and everybody was sort of tearing up a little bit. Terry Saban came out and spoke with Frank Beamer's wife for a little bit. They even had a video of Tommy Bowden sitting with his mother, who's 91 now. They did a little bit of a speech, which was nice and cute. Terry Bowden was there. And it was like Terry was, it's just funny. I mean, he's just sort of a caricature. I mean, there's Nick Saban, dressed to the nines. Terry looked like somebody told him 20 minutes before the event, you got to wear pants to this, right? He's like, oh my God. And but Terry, he had some pretty funny stories. He had some funny moments. And he actually, he was more likable than I ever remember him. And maybe that's just because he was coaching at Auburn, but he was a lot more likable than I ever remembered him. Chris Winkie did come on stage. He had a pretty funny story, along with Mickey Andrews. And the two of them shared some Bobby Bowden stories, obviously, and they both actually had tons. I'm talking about everybody that came on stage, adored Saban. I was not shocked because I think he did, but the admiration other coaches have for Nick Saban is immense. Frank Beamer actually, the event was wrapping up, and Frank Beamer, he doesn't look good. I'm sorry. I would love to tell you he did, but Shane Beamer, his son, was there, coach of South Carolina. And Frank just didn't look good. He's using a cane. It's like one of those things, when coaches quit coaching, how they quickly start falling downhill sometimes. That's what it looks like. And I hate it because I think Frank Beamer's a great dude. And I love what he did at Virginia Tech. But Frank went out of his way when the event was wrapping up to say, I just want y'all to know. And I don't know if he did this with a purpose or if he just wanted to say it. But he said, I want y'all to know how much Nick Saban means to college football and how he's always done stuff the right way. That's verbatim what he said. He said he's always done stuff the right way, and I appreciate that. And because you always hear rumors about this, that, and that. And I'm going to tell y'all something. If you love college football, you better be pro Nick Saban. Because here's the other thing. Nick Saban went off talking about how I'm going to do all I can to help college football. I think it needs to. He actually made the statement. Think about it this way. What would Bear Bryant or Bobby Bowden think about college football if they were alive today? And everybody there was like a groan throughout the place. Yeah. And I think that's a good point. Now, maybe Nick Saban and maybe Bear Bryant and Bobby Bowden shouldn't be the end all be all for all of college football. There are probably some people saying that. I understand what you're saying. At the same time, those two are known for having just set the standard. Now Saban's in that class too now, obviously, but anyway, I want to tell a couple of funny stories. First of all, when it comes to Chris Winkie, Mickey Andrews was telling a story, and it was like Mickey was like Vern Lundquist up there a little bit. Like he was so funny, but at times it felt like he spaced out. Like he'd go, "Yeah, I'd be over there, and I'd just tell Coach Bobby, I'd say, Coach." And then there'd be like silence, and everybody's like, "I don't know if he's done with the story. I don't know if we should, check his pulse." But he had some funny stories. He had one where he went, and Chris Winkie told this with him, that they were playing NC State, and Chris Winkie's second year. And the first play of the game, he throws a 76-yard touchdown. He said, and after that, he threw 6 interceptions in that game. In that one game.
That's a lot.
And he said at one point, Bobby Bowden came to him.
3 is a lot.
Yeah. Bobby Bowden came to him and said, "Son, we're wearing white today, right?" And then Peter Warwick, who was on that team, Mickey Andrews told this. He said, Peter Warwick came up. He said, I was trying to, get Chris Winkie to calm down. Peter Warwick came up to both of us and said, "Chris, if you'll just tell me what safety you're going to throw it to, I'll try and intercept it." It was great. Nick Saban ended it all by saying, "I want everybody to know I'm all Alabama." Now, for people non-Alabama fans not listening to this that won't mean much, but it was chill-inducing. He was like, "We are still Alabama. Miss Terry and I are going to be involved with Alabama as much as we can." He said, "And I'm going to pick Alabama every chance I get," meaning on game day. He just there is a softer side to this guy out there right now. And he said that one of the questions asked of him was, "Well, what about retirement? How you enjoyed it?" He said, "For the first time in my life, I'm late to places. I don't feel like I have to be the first one there. I don't feel like I have to." He said, "My schedule is relaxed, and we all know not relaxed like your schedule and my schedule, but like relaxed to Nick Saban standard schedule, where he's like, I don't have to be there at 10:30. If I was supposed to be at 10:30, I was going to be there at 10:20, and now I get there at 10:45." And he said, "It's okay." And he said, "That's what this has taught me so far." And he said, "Yeah, of course, I want to still be, I want things to be good. I want things to be well run." He said, "But I'm not retiring from work." He said, "I'm going to continue to do things. I'm going to continue to dabble in my businesses and be more present there and be more present with my family and be more present, do other things at Alabama, do other things with College Game Day." It was such a more human side of Nick Saban, and that was really, really refreshing. But, nothing earth-shattering in there. Rick Neuheisel was there as the MC along with Lauren Sisler. And, they all talked about, really everybody said, "Hey, Nick, we need you to save college football." And Nick went above and beyond in saying, "Look, I'm not 4 players." He said, "I'm 4 players getting a piece of the pie." He said, "But right now what's happening is unsustainable."
Yeah, we don't have a system. We don't have a system that works. It doesn't mean that the system doesn't work because the players are getting money. That's not what that means at all. But we don't have a system that works for everyone. Just like, and I hate making this comparison, I don't want the system, the system that the NFL has. It works for everyone. And one of the reasons the NFL works for everyone is because everyone has a seat at the table. You know, the owners, represented by the commissioner, they sit at the table. The players have a union. They sit at the table. Everyone's interests are represented, and the system is negotiated. We don't have that now. We don't have anything like that now. And I think as fans, we got to get used to the concept soon that there will be what amounts to a college football players union, because they need to sit at the table and they need to say, hey, this is what we want. And the system says, fine, okay, you can have that, but you have to give us this. For instance, none of this 1-year free agency stuff. You know, we can't do that anymore. We can't do that. No, and again, it's negotiated, and that's what needs to happen, because right now we have a non-negotiated system where everyone's just trying to get theirs, and it's not working. And the reason we know it's not working is because it's always in court.
That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.